Hey everyone, well, welcome to Open. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche for the next hour, encouraging you to get social with us online as we continue during these social distancing times. Let's connect, tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BroxNet TV and like us on Facebook at Open BroxNet Television. And of course, while you're there, you can follow me on Twitter, FB, Instagram, Insta Stories, and LinkedIn at Rhina Valentin. So, blended learning is slated to officially begin on Monday, September 21st, and many teachers are against the reopening of schools due to unsafe classroom conditions. And so far, a total of 55 New York City school staff tested positive for COVID-19, and it's left many people worried for the upcoming school year. Our first guests, are part of the New York City School Workers Solidarity Campaign, which supports keeping schools closed until it is safe. And joining us to discuss more, please welcome organizers Flynn Murray and Tajh Sutton. Hello, ladies, and welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Yes, well, thank you for your efforts. Let's talk about this unbelievable situation we're in. Here we are in September, and you ladies have organized this New York City School Worker Solidarity Campaign. Let's just begin with just sharing with our audience when this campaign was even founded and why.
Absolutely. So the campaign was founded just a few weeks ago in the middle of August. It came about because the UFT, the teachers union here in New York City, was talking about what it needed to do in order to keep schools safe, and they discussed having a strike. And being that the strike was put on the table, the community decided that it wanted to come together and figure out the best ways to support educators should they decide they need to go out. And should they decide they don't need to go out, the fight obviously doesn't stop there. We think we need to keep everyone safe no matter what. So we decided to start a solidarity campaign to see what we could do in order to support teachers, other school workers, parents, and the community at large to keep us safe from COVID.
So explain to me what this group consists of, because I understand it isn't solely teachers.
Sure, I can speak to that a bit. Just to kind of drive home the solidarity point, right? I'm a mom, so I'm an arts educator, but not full-time. I'm a community organizer in the capacity of parent leader. And so the solidarity campaign consists of paras, educators in the classroom, schools, cafeteria workers, moms, abuelitas, students, really across the board, because the goal for us is to really impress upon all of our communities that this is indeed a community issue. Whether you are an educator, whether you are someone who has children, public school is something that we're all invested in, and if not, we should be. And it's something that would affect us all, because in the ways that our children navigate the city to go to school, when we're talking about community spread, this is something that we all have to be thinking about and paying attention to.
Right, and also there's, we can talk about the funding of the school system, right? I mean, there needs to be additional funding implemented just for the educational component, never mind the cleaning aspect of it. Can you talk to that? Can you speak on that, Flynn?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that was happening during this summer was a conversation about how COVID was going to impact the city's budget. And a decision was made that $1 billion was going to be cut from New York City, from our public school system. So not only has education been underfunded for decades in the US generally, including in New York City, but the decision was made that $1 billion would be cut this year. And yet our politicians were talking about how schools were going to be safe environments. Now, my question to them is, if you don't even give us the funding to have classrooms with windows that open, and facilities that don't have asbestos-filled walls, how are we going to guarantee safety from a new pandemic like COVID if our buildings are already falling apart due to lack of funding, large class sizes, and other inequities that just should not be existing in public education?
So Tajh, as a teacher, are you associated with the United Federations of Teachers?
I'm associated with the MORE Caucus, which is the rank and file social justice caucus of the UFT. We collectively, as parents, teachers, and students, have been very disappointed in the UFT because we feel like More Caucus has really been on the front lines fighting for communities, and many of our DOE affiliated leaders have been scared to say what we're all thinking. And so now the UFT finally, very late in the game, is starting to say, you know what, this looks unsafe, but they're also not listening to community-led plans that would actually allow us to create a safe and phased delayed opening. They're really trying to drive home this first day of the 21st, and we know we're not ready.
Well, as a parent, I can attest to that because yeah, just dealing with the remote aspect of it, it's been quite chaotic this morning in just trying to get that communication set up. And so that also leads me to, you know, the children who are without Wi-Fi, who may not have devices, who may not be able to continue moving forward or have already been deprived based on not having access to just devices, just simple devices and Wi-Fi.
100%, not to mention things like language access, things like living in a multi-generational home where maybe you really just do not have the space and the access to the opportunity to sit at that laptop and get these assignments done. And so, you know, had the UFT and the DOE and the mayor conferred with parents and educators and students, they would have been able to create plans that were accessible and equitable. But instead, they forged ahead with this 3 cohort model that does not work for the majority of families, nor does it provide us the childcare we need to get back to work, like they keep saying.
Right, exactly. And the reason I brought it up is because it's kind of like a no-win situation on both sides.
Exactly.
So how do you foresee this being resolved? Who wants to answer that? How do you foresee a plan that would actually move this forward so that everybody is accommodated?
Go for it, Flynn, and then I'll go.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, we need to be remote only. Every other large school district in this country is remote only. Chicago, LA, and actually the other school districts of New York are going remote only. And because they made that decision earlier in the game, they're able to focus on how to get kids access to internet devices and meet some of these needs so that we don't have a replication of the poorest segments of our communities being left behind, and that is completely unacceptable. And at this point, you know, we have to prepare for remote only. It's our only option.
And Tajh,
And just to add to what Flynn is saying, sure. In addition to going remote only, we've had really fantastic equitable plans of a phased and delayed reopening provided to us by schools, institutions, and organizations like the Urban Assembly Maker Academy, Community Education Council in District 14, and the Alliance for Quality Education, as well as the More Caucus Health Justice Group that makes specific accommodations for students such as special needs learners, English language learners, and low-income students, and also acknowledge the reality of the health crisis we currently find ourselves in, which we can't get out of without funding, which we know we do not have. As we continue to, you know, there are more budget cuts on the way, apparently. We're looking at 20% budget cuts in addition to the cuts that we got over the summer. So to put our teachers in this position where they have to put on a brave face and act like these schools are safe and everything is going to be fine, it's outrageous and it's unacceptable. And that's why we're organizing across class and racial and occupational lines. And that's why we're gearing up for an action on the 21st, which is supposed to be the first day of school, which we are really not happy with.
All right, so this is lovely, and I'm really glad that we're able to share this with our viewers. So if anyone is interested, first of all, this is a citywide, just to be clear about matters, right? So it doesn't matter what borough you're from, but if somebody wanted to participate, they can participate being anything, right? Either a parent or an organizer or a teacher, right? This consists of everybody who wants to have this conversation about the school safety, correct?
Absolutely.
We actually have, so the way the campaign is set up, we meet weekly to have large organizing calls to do report backs on actions that we've had that week to talk through what we need to do in the the weeks moving forward. We usually have teachers present on conditions in their workplace at the beginning of every call. And then we break out into working groups. So we have 3 different committees that are a part of the campaign. We have outreach, which does a lot of phone zaps, contacting the DOE, contacting local officials to talk about why parents don't want their kids in these unsafe classrooms, and holding elected officials accountable for keeping us all safe. We have a social media committee that is focused on getting the word out and using graphics and hashtags and everything else to try and bring as many people together as possible. And then we have the actions committee, which helps plan the actions for the coming week. And these are all democratic spaces. Everyone is welcome to participate, suggest actions, bring actions to our attention that we can co-endorse and co-sponsor, so that we can really act as a community for our communities.
Yeah, you ladies are serious, and thank you for bringing it here. Yes, blessings for our children, and thank you, ladies, for spearheading this. Flynn, Tajh, thank you for being here. And you guys, once again, if you are interested in becoming or participating in the New York City Schools Workers Solidarity Campaign, along with any other issues related to COVID-19 and our New York City schools, you can follow them on Twitter at NYC SWSC. We have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear about a transformative and artistic event created around women. Don't go anywhere.